Hi there, everybody. I wanted to address most of the comments people had in the syllabus discussion. A whole lot of questions, and I didn't want to have to type them all up, so I thought I would do this little video thing. So let me start with, I'm going to have to cross out as I go, no text. Glad you like it. Somebody asked why, and basically it's because this information, no particular textbook contains any secret information that nobody else has. It's all pretty common information, and I figure I can type most of it up, and most of it I have, or else I can direct you to online sources where it's free and that sort of thing. So no need for a book in that regard, and basically I just do it to save you money. You know, 50 bucks, 70 bucks. I don't know what the books tend to cost. There is one I like to use sometimes, but anyhow, nothing about that there. So don't worry about that. No text. No text. Um, Somebody mentioned I don't know. Let me see. So peer reviews was something that people are anxious about, and I know how that goes. I will give you pretty specific guidelines on what I want you to do in yours. I want to make sure I'm kind of trying to look into the camera so I look at you. Maybe if I put it over here so I look at myself. Okay, so peer reviews, yeah, I'll give you some guidelines on that. It's really important. Writing is meant to be read. And so I need you to have your writing read as it goes through every stage of the process early on, that sort of thing. So that's why we do that, and to get you feedback. Also with the peer review process, once you've done work on your classmates' papers, you can then take the same strategy and apply it to your own paper. So it's learning how to read a paper in a particular way, or read it in a particular way, and then apply that particular reading strategy to your own work to help you rely less on others in some respects. So it's always good to work with others. So that's that. Do, 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 Somebody asked about extra credit. There is no extra credit. There will be plenty of work to do to keep you busy. And so there is, I just don't do extra credit. You'll be busy enough. If you can't do all the other work, um, why would I give you extra credit? No. So you need to do what needs to be done kind of stuff. A lot of you commented on the cross stuff. Yes, I do kind of try to make this class as much like the face-to-face class as I can. I want to have a similar experience. I want to use the online opportunities to enhance the class as opposed to kind of completely change it. I think fundamentally the course is solid, I like to believe, and there's just some tweaking that needs to be done for online delivery and the other aspects that make it different, being face-to-face and online. Um, One of those, which brings me to, is the online annotating. I was trying to figure out how to do that well, and I was talking with a colleague about strategies he uses, and so I finally, talking to him, came up with a strategy. Basically, I will load PDF files for you to use in Canvas, and there's a comment feature where you'll do the kind of commenting I want you to do because of the way I like to teach. And when we do annotations, it's always restatement, summary. I want you to demonstrate that you understand the reading. That's the most important aspect. And before you jump, or maybe jump is not the right word, but before you move on to responding to it, critiquing it, applying it to other notions. So that's the most important thing for me. There's something about the things we read, and I can't remember the language a few people use, maybe the word good reads. I don't know that there will be any good reads in here, quite frankly. The assignments I give for reading will be mostly academic-y type stuff. As we move on to your projects, your bigger research project, as we teach the research strategy, you'll get to choose your topic. It will be directed at either your major, your career choice. I want you to kind of explore that and write about what it is you want to be when you grow up, regardless of how grown up you are or are not already. Um, but so you'll have that kind of interesting or interest in the readings, and that you'll choose the broader topic and delve into something of interest to you. I know some people have mentioned going into nursing, so you may be looking at nursing and the professional opportunities or some such thing. I don't know. You'll kind of figure that out for yourself. Um, I do want you to, so I mentioned annotation, peer reviews, group assignments. So peer response is kind of a group assignments. There will be low stakes group assignments. I'm still trying to decide how to do some of the collaborative work we do in the classroom, moving it into the online environment. So it's important that you get some practice working with other people online in a collaborative manner. This is, though I wrote to somebody, my emphasis is not on job preparation for you, but in just helping you be better readers, writers, and thinkers, which in turn, leads to kind of job support notions. But one of the things employers look for is your ability to work with other people, and more we do that work online from our different places. So that's why I will have you do some online collaborative work. The concern a number of people expressed was getting stuck with a deadbeat, fundamentally. And there will be times when that may well happen. We just can never know. And sometimes the reasons are good and sometimes they're not. Um, Again, it goes to that whole notion of collaboration. But when it comes to earning points or getting graded for collaborative work, if somebody doesn't do what they're supposed to do, most of I can't think of any assignments that are not structured in a way that that person's failure will hurt your grade or affect your grade. So usually, say with peer reviews, you submit your draft, you get papers to respond to, and you respond to them, but nobody responds to you. Well, I'm not going to punish you for somebody not responding to you and doing that part of the class. Similarly, there might be other activities you do online that are collaborative, and if there's a group of four and one person doesn't do the work, the three who did the work will get whatever kind of score they would have earned, and the person who didn't contribute will get no score or a low score. It just kind of depends on the structure of the assignment. So that won't hurt anybody. So if somebody is a deadbeat and you are assigned to work with them, their deadbeatness won't directly impact your grade. So somebody mentioned something about unintentional plagiarism. I can't remember who, and I agree completely. There are limited chances for out and out cheating plagiarism in this class that I'm aware of. I do try to structure a class to where plagiarism is difficult, if not impossible, mostly through assignment design. But sometimes students decide to figure a way around that. So if you do unintentional plagiarism, that's kind of a thing that I teach you how to avoid. And if you do it in one of our assignments, I say, okay, this right here is plagiarism, but it's the kind you need to learn about and avoid in the future, as opposed to you go and buy a paper online and submit it as your own work, which is clearly fraudulent behavior. And I recognize the difference between those two things. And and the inadvertent stuff happens. That's why you're here. And whoever wrote about that in the syllabus discussion mentioned that, and that person is absolutely right. So don't. But I guess the caveat to that is, while I see that, and I understand that, and I'll try to help us with it as much as I can. There are some people, some teachers you'll encounter who don't make that distinction between intentional and unintentional, between sloppy citations or sloppy integration of sources, for lack of a better word, and cheating and fraud. They don't distinguish. So I will, but just be careful, and if you're worried, let me know. So there's that. I wrote about the need for constant practice, and all the research says I am correct about that. So do try to avoid bunching up all of your work into a cram session. It's just, generally speaking, counterproductive in that it's not as good. You're better off spending an hour a day, 6 days a week, than 6 hours 1 day a week. Your brain will be fresher at each time. You'll be able to think more effectively, that sort of thing. So, that's one of the reasons. And again, I compare it to playing a musical instrument or doing some kind of physical fitness thing. You can't learn anything, or you can't get fit by doing 10 hours of exercise on the weekend and nothing in the week. You're better off to do an hour a day, actually. And the same is true with music, an hour a day, 6 days a week, as opposed to 6 hours 1 day a week. There's all kinds of research and scholarship that shows the value in that. So do try to avoid it as much as you can. The time expectation, somebody thought, well, it might take more than 15 hours, and it might. I think the big thing here is that you have to kind of look at how much time you have based on family work and all that sort of stuff and other classes, and devote what time you can. The big deal is if you're not devoting much time and you are not doing very well, or as well as you would hope, or as well as you think you could, then oftentimes spending more time on the class is going to get you going in the right direction. Of course, you can't just spend more time. You need to do productive things with that time. And so maybe that's when you ask me a question about, well, what should I do on this? How might I use my time? I have time to spend on this, but I don't know quite what to do. What would you suggest? And I'll help you out with that kind of stuff. So that's about the time expectation. We don't, it's a very old idea. The Carnegie unit is where the 1 hour of in class, 2 hours out of class comes from. And, it's just I have no idea how they came up with it. Probably purely arbitrary, like so many things are. But that's the one we work with, and it's a good rule of thumb. So, but it'll depend. Some of you will need to spend more time than others on the class, and that's just the way it goes. Some of us, it's kind of like, to go back to a different example, when using music, because I practice the guitar, I play the guitar a little bit. When I do guitar practice, I set a timer and do things in like 5-minute chunks. And during that 5 minutes, I'm absolutely focused on whatever the task is that I'm working on. And I might have 8 or 9, I can't remember, it depends on my mood and desire and stuff, things that I will do for 5 minutes at a time. And so 9 times 5 is 45. So it might be I'm doing 45 minutes of practice each time I sit down to do practice. But it will take me an hour or more to do that 45 minutes of actual practice. And the same can be true when you get distracted with writing. You might think, well, I've been sitting here in front of the computer for an hour, but how much work have I actually done? 10 minutes, 50 minutes? Who knows? So, think of time in that way. And so the schedule, people have commented on the schedule, and that is always something this is my weakest aspect of the teacher, is making a schedule and sticking to it, because there's always things I want to get in as opposed to being rigid about a schedule. And I always default to the let's do this and let's change the schedule kind of stuff, as opposed to let's not cover this thing and let's stick to the schedule. So that's a problem. And also because I've moved this course in Canvas, you copy earlier versions of the course and it brings those old dates forward, and I'm not good at planning out the whole quarter in advance as far as dates go, because we need to do things. I need to see how you are doing with whatever it is we're doing before I figure, okay, we can get this done in 3 days, or we need 6 days, or we need whatever. So I'd like to tailor it to the body of students I'm working with. And this brings me to the final thing about, why have these rules, and which is the syllabus. The syllabus functions as a contract between you and me. So everything that's written out there is something that I can be held accountable for by you, and which I can hold you to account for. So it's our kind of contract for how the class will run. If I do make changes, I make them in your favor generally. I don't recall making a change ever to kind of collectively punish a class. Even if I have something in there that I want to change that would be huge, I wait until the next time I teach the class to build that into the syllabus. It's not kind of fair to change the rules in the middle of the game. And the thing is, with some things, if I don't have those rules and a student does something unanticipated, which is usually not a good thing that they've done, it's always when I don't have a rule that some student comes along and finds the loophole to the behavior, and they do it in a way I don't really care so much if a student finds a loophole in the syllabus, but usually when that's happened in the past, it's been with a student who really hasn't earned a grade and hasn't done the work, but through kind of a syllabus loophole, ended up getting credit for the class and a grade when they didn't deserve it. And that cheapens the whole process. And so I think I have a good set of rules to prevent, unfair treatment, a student being not engaged, not participating, but finagling a grade out of the class based on something that wasn't stated, and other students have, in good faith, done the work and tried to learn as best they could and earned their credit, whereas somebody else just kind of cheated their way into credit. So that's why there's a bunch of rules type stuff in there. And I think that is everything. This is almost a 20-minute video lecture, so I apologize for that. I will be posting your essays to read and annotate shortly, maybe even right after I make this video, because it takes a while to process it. But other than that, if you have any questions, shoot me a message and I will get back to you. And I will just say finally that I kind of enjoyed the truth and lies things. It's always nice when people explain, the two true things, and just that's the way we get to know each other, and that's the whole thing, because we are not sharing a physical space. But if you are on campus, feel free to drop by Building 5, room 157. And with that, I will stop yakking. Take care. Bye-bye.